Do Ukrainians have its own language, or all of them speak Russian? If so, Ukrainian and Russian are the same language or not? Hi, my name is Olga, and in this video I want to talk about language problem in Ukraine. Let us find out where's the truth. First question. Do Ukrainians have its own language? Yes, there is a separate language called Ukrainian language. The root of its language coming from East Old Slavic, and it was a language that people used in 10th-12th century in the territory of modern Ukraine, which was Kiev Rus by that time. Definitely Ukrainian language, like any other language in the use, changed a lot from that time. New words appeared, many words disappeared, but the basic language rules and grammar rules remain the same. Okay, so is it the same like Russian language with some modifications, or it's totally different? So every language consists of vocabulary, which is words, and grammar, which are rules. Ukraine belongs to Slavic family of the languages, and for sure it shares some common features with Russian language, which is also part of Slavic family. Slavic languages are covering big geographical territory, and even they are having some similarities in vocabulary and rules. Each of the language has its own historical changes and impacts, which made them pretty different nowadays and not easy to understand without learning. For example, Russian language got big influence from the Russian church language, as well as Latin and German words. Unlike Ukrainian, which didn't have such influence and keep more original words of the local population on that time. If you want to compare vocabulary, then the most similar to Ukrainian language is Belarusian, as 84% of the words are common. After that comes Polish with its 70% common vocabulary, then Serbian 68% of vocabulary, and after that Russia, which has only 62 common percent of vocabulary. So how much is that 62% common vocabulary? Approximately it's like Spanish and Italian, Portuguese and French, English and Dutch, a bit more similar than Danish and German. So if you speak one of them, please write me in the comments if you can understand another pair easily without learning, or it requires from you some effort. Here are some examples of the basic words in Ukrainian and Russian. Дитина, ребенок, чоловік, мужчина, дівчина, девушка, лікар, врач, квітка, цветок. As you see, it's a bit not similar. With all this war, with all these movements of Ukrainians all over the world, people still ask me if I can help them to find Ukrainian wife, if I can help to match with somebody from Ukraine. And I just want to say that me by myself, I'm not a professional matchmaker, but you can always search in local groups of Ukrainians for some connections. Ukrainians nowadays go all over the world, and you have much better chance to meet someone. If you are still interested to search somebody online, I can recommend you Ukraine Brides, where you can actually browse the profile of the girls based on their location, and you can find Ukrainians who are already located in your country or even in your city, or just find someone who is in Ukraine. But remember that any kind of relationship, it's always your responsibility, and none of the website will give you guarantee of the relationship and love. You can check the link in the description. But all Ukrainians know Russian. I have been in Ukraine many times, and I see that so many people speak Russian. Okay, there is two different things. Does all people understand Russian language, or do they speak only Russian language and they don't know Ukrainian? That's a big difference. Majority, very majority, yes, they understand Russian language. Why? First, in USSR, Russian language was a state language and it was mandatory to learn it. So anybody from former USSR, not just from Ukraine, will understand Russian language. Russian language was not just taught at school. It was everywhere in the media, in radio, songs, cinema, books, actually everywhere in public life. People was living in this language surrounding, and for sure they will know this language almost like their own. USSR collapsed 32 years back, but still Ukrainian media, till full-scale invasion, was using Russian language a lot on its programs. They never translated Russian movies and TV series. If they invite anybody for interview, they will never translate his Russian language. We have so much of Russian books and songs. All that will let you learn the language even if you don't target to do so. So I grew up, for example, in Ukrainian speaking family. My city was pretty Ukrainian speaking and I never learned Russian at school. But I understand Russian almost perfectly and I can speak it almost like my native language. And I was born after Soviet Union. All this is a result of immersing me in Russian-speaking surrounding on media, on TV, on the books, on the radio, that even if I don't want to learn it, I know it. And same as it happened with my daughter, while I immerse her in English surrounding in Ukraine, in English media in Ukraine, she starts to speak perfectly English even without never being in English-speaking country and not living in English-speaking surrounding. So that is the answer why majority of people know Russian language and they can speak Russian anytime it's needed. But do people in Ukraine speak only Russian? Then definitely not. Based on our governmental census in 2001, 67% of population was considering Ukrainian as their native language. In 2012, it dropped to 57% of population, and in 2022, after the war started, 76% of Ukrainians said that their native language is Ukrainian. The difference is not just war, but also younger generation, which grown up in independent country, don't see themselves tied to Russia and don't have nostalgic feelings toward USSR. So why not 100% of Ukrainians speak Ukrainian language? It's a very interesting historical question. Russia didn't wake up in 2022 and decided to smash Ukrainian nation and its identity. They was doing it for centuries, when Ukraine was part of Russian Empire, and for sure part of the policy was to forbid Ukrainian language. Now you can see all laws and regulations which in a way and another was preventing Ukrainians to use their own language. Ukrainian language was not allowed to be used on public. No schools, no books, put into jail all killing members of all kind of Ukrainian organization which was spreading Ukrainian literature, theater performances, and actually any use of Ukrainian language starting from 17th century. So you can talk Ukrainian in your own home, but once you get out, you will never hear Ukrainian language anywhere. And such policy was almost for 300 years. And not just that, they were marketing Ukrainian language as farmer language, language of stupid and not educated people, while speaking Russian was opening you more doors, make your status in society a way higher. Such policy was remaining in Ukraine till Ukraine got independent in 1991. I guess with such policy we need to be wonder how Ukrainians was able to keep their language until nowadays the language exists. Ukraine actually did one great thing. They secured Ukrainian language as the only one official language in the country. Ukrainians got right to study in Ukrainian language in schools and universities, have books in Ukrainian language, and watch movies. Russian language was widely used in all public places, in media. There were more Russian movies and books than Ukrainian language. Most of the websites will be in Russian at least, and maybe sometimes in Ukrainian as well. There were Russian schools on the territories which mostly speak Russian. The only requirement was to learn Ukrainian language course as part of the school program and pass exam of Ukrainian language at the end of the school, just because this is the only state language in Ukraine. And even with that, Russia tried to make a big hassle and claim that Russian speakers are so much squeezed on their rights because they are forced to learn Ukrainian course by force from the government. Well, actually nobody forbidden them to speak Russian, learn everything in Russian, but they just need to learn one more language, which is state language. For sure, as less people know Ukrainian, as better, because you can claim that we are one nation, which will make invasion and influence on this nation much easier. But here, war came. War changed a lot in mind of Ukrainians. In case of language, not many TV channels will dare nowadays to show any program in Russian language, especially if it is Ukrainian TV series, or if it is Ukrainian TV show, they start making doublage in Ukrainian language. If there is anybody speak Russian who is invited for interview, he will say so much time sorry that he speak Russian, that he don't speak Ukrainian, he's not able to speak Ukrainian. He will put a lot of Ukrainian signs everywhere, just saying that I am Ukrainian, but yes, I speak Russian, and it became like I have some disease. People just don't want to have anything similar with Russians anymore. Russian speakers who never in their life speak Ukrainian language, they start speaking Ukrainian. Kids became even more active. We don't need to underestimate how much kids is understanding. Even my daughter, which didn't face the war, we left Ukraine from the beginning. She, through YouTube shorts, she know that Russia is aggressor, she don't like Russian language, she has all bad feelings towards Russia and good feelings towards Ukrainian things. Even I never discuss it with her, and we are living outside and she don't see it in front of her eyes. But majority of Ukrainian kids are in Ukraine. They see every day how their neighbors are dying from Russian rockets. They see how everything Russian is killing everything around them. And for sure, they will grow up with a huge hate to anything Russian, and they would not want to associate themselves with Russians by any means. At the end, I want to say that Ukraine after war will never be like before. And that's actually funny and sad, but Putin, he did actually the best to unite Ukrainian nation and finally let them feel separation from Russians and don't want to have anything common with the Russian nation. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you really appreciate my efforts, please don't forget to comment, press the like button and share this video to help spread this information to others. See you next time.